So we'll start here, folks. And our next part here is teamwork. Amongst the problems, earlier we talked about human factors. Teamwork is kind of our antidote to that. It's what we can use to override our human factors. So we'll talk about that for a little bit. In our AIARE risk management framework, teamwork is what sort of overrides the planning, the writing, and the debrief. And we'll talk about the debrief in a little bit. We go ahead, we assemble our group, we put down health issues, medical, all that sort of thing there. We discuss our group goals, experience, and abilities, and we have an objective suitable for our team. We want a shared mental model amongst everybody. We've got our group, friends heading out for the day. We define what we'll call our rules of engagement, that we're going to stick together. As I said, there's a lot of accidents where when the group spreads out, there's always somebody in front who's, why can't they keep up? There's always somebody at the back going, oh, why don't they slow down? As soon as we've all had experiences probably of being out with people faster than us, as soon as we catch up to them, they're off again. We don't have time to discuss and talk. And again, that was one of the factors in the Mount Tom Avalanche here, where people didn't discuss. Some people saw things, other people didn't. Information didn't get exchanged. We want to decide together, and we want to listen to every voice, challenge assumptions, and respect vetoes. In Canadian heli guiding, Canadians have been doing it for a long time. In the morning, there's a team meeting. Everybody has to be there, all the guides together. They often have runs that are green and red. No such thing as an orange run. To make a red run green, everybody has to decide. There's no debate over it. Somebody says, I just don't feel good about it. The run is closed, move on. To make a green run red, it takes one person to say, I just didn't have a good feel for that when I skied it today. I don't think we should do it again. Okay, done, move on. There's not going to be any debating of, come on, man, what's wrong with you? It's easy. It's not a big deal, whatever. Just respect the veto. And that's the way the Canadian and the heli industry, which is a high stakes, high risk industry, that's how they've decided they're going to deal with it. So it helps us to know when things, we know that things go wrong at the beginning of our decision making. It's an attempt to stop things going off the rails. When we look at accidents, there's often a whole series of problems. It isn't any one thing, it's a lot of different things. For better or worse, a lot of us are type A personalities, classic ones. We're goal driven. People are often possessed by prior failures, push harder. It doesn't have to be Everest. This just does not look like a whole lot of fun to me. It might be something small. You didn't get to ski something one year, you feel defeated by it, you want to keep going back until you do it. I've had that in climbing. It took me 30 years, 48 pitches, and 6 attempts to climb Mount Watkins, which is an 18 pitch route. So I'm not sure if it's perseverance or stupidity, but we are driven by things, but we don't want that to become irrational at all. We want to have a turnaround time and stick to it. I knew Scott Fisher before he died on Everest. And part of that was having a turnaround time, but they didn't stick to it. And that was the big Everest year when everything went to hell. And there's a lot of warning signs, but people kept on pushing. Again, Everest is a different deal. A lot of money, a lot of ego, a lot of different things going on there. But the same can happen to us, on smaller goals. What we can avoid some avalanche problems by sticking to our turnaround time. Wet loose, wet slab, cornice falls, all of those things happen later in the day. Maybe we'll miss the best skiing. Maybe we want to get to the top of something and ski from the top, but the best snow, is 1,000 feet below the top. What's our goal? By the time we climb that extra 1,000 feet, turn around and come down, then we're probably getting bad snow all the way down for skiing, and we're increasing our danger. We always have uncertainty when we're out there. We don't know everything. And for us in the backcountry, it's weather, people, terrain, snowpack, all of that. So we have to recognize that there is uncertainty. This graph here, when we have low uncertainty, or low danger rating, our decision making is pretty easy. When we have high danger or extreme, it's pretty easy too. We don't step out the door. It's when we have moderate and considerable that we have trouble making a decision. Some choices are hard, some are easy. And some are hard when they appear to be easy. We have our own human dissonance and biases. So when the rating is moderate and considerable, that's when we need to apply the most caution and maybe back off a little bit, because that's when our uncertainty is the highest. We can manage it by considering the consequences. Can we get more information? Can we change our terrain? Can we increase our margin of safety? This little diagram is in the handbook. So when we've got less confidence, we keep it simple. When we have more confidence, we can step it out, again, using proper travel techniques. Less confidence will keep the terrain simple. When we have more confidence, we can go into more complex terrain. So it's that balance between our confidence and the terrain that we choose. And again, we'll go ahead and use our evaluator booklet or something similar. You can find this online. If you don't want to order up from Canada, the exchange rate's pretty good, but you can find this online. What you miss out on is sort of their how to use it thing, but just keep this in mind. Low danger, we can push it up. High danger, we throttle back. We're asking ourselves, how much do we want to risk here? How do I know what I think I know? Am I missing something? Do I have enough information? What's the quality of it? And in particular, what happens if I do get it wrong? So, how many people out there play poker? You are late night online addicts? Who is there out there? Anybody? Come on, a few head shakes. Oh yeah, okay, I know. I won't tell everyone. Ben, it's his job. Okay. So, I read an article recently sort of applying our risk in the backcountry to poker playing. For those of you who do, maybe you'll get it. For those of you who don't, good job on the good habits. So what sort of a hand are we holding out there? We all think it's this. We all think we've got a good hand, don't we? But in reality, is this what we've got? Not much of anything. So again, we all think we know something, but we've got to go ahead and be realistic about it. Is the risk worth the reward? Do I really have a good hand, or can I change it? Can I go do something different, play at a different table, move to a different slope, go further down the mountain rather than higher up it? We can go ahead and play simple hands. Wait for the obvious win. Yes, we really want to go ski Elderberry Canyon, but maybe it's just not the time for it. We're going to wait for the obvious time to go do Elderberry. No, we want to think about how is it going to play out. Now, if I'm wrong, what's the worst that can happen? No, we're kind of pre-morteming things here. And we also need to know when to fold and walk away. We don't want to be greedy. And this is where I think that having the mindset of having a good time in the mountains, not having a tick list, not predicating it upon degree or slope angle, but simply having a good time and knowing when to quit. Sort of backcountry abstinence. Now, our goal was to ski from the col up here. No, but the conditions aren't what we like. Look at that cornice hanging up there. If that falls, it's going to take all of us down. Maybe it'll trigger something else in there. Just doesn't look so good. So let's just stop here and ski. Again, for me, I want to go out and have fun with friends in the mountains in a beautiful situation and just enjoy the people I'm out there with and enjoy the time. Good snow is always a bonus. For me, a good view is also worth a whole lot as well. So that's our presentation there in terms of taking care of each other in the backcountry and in the mountains. And it's our teamwork. So we've had our day. We've been out there. We've gone ahead. We've gotten back. The day went well. We're not done. There's still one more thing we want to do. And that is the last part of the AIARE framework here, which is debriefing. So we want to summarize the conditions, review our decisions, and improve on the plan. And debriefing comes part of the AIARE framework here. Again, teamwork is part of our debrief. So when we planned, we predicted. When we were out there, we observed. Now we want to see, did our predictions match what we saw out there? Now we can summarize what we saw, we can decide what we got right, decide what we missed maybe, and figure out why we missed it. In guiding, what I want guides to do is at the end of the day, review things. What went well, what didn't go well, what would I do differently next time around? So why do we want to debrief? No, we might want to just sit around and talk and bullshit and, oh, that was a great day. Man, it was good. Oh, I haven't had that good snow in a long time. Well, I've had better days. Blah, 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 blah. So debriefing is important. It enables us to intentionally build expertise versus haphazardly gaining information. Researchers have defined two different environments. One we'll call a kind learning one, and one we'll call a wicked learning one. The industry standard for expertise is about 10,000 hours of applied work. Somebody working here at the auto parts sales, working 5 days a week and 9 to 5, that's 260 work days a year. That's going to take them about 5 years to get of full-time work. And in this environment, it's kind because I go in there to get a fuel filter for my 2010 Jeep. She gives me one for 2008. It doesn't fit. I take it back. I say, you've given me the wrong one. She checks and says, oh, I'm sorry about that. Hands me the new one and off I go. There isn't a lot of consequence to her making a decision, a bad decision there, a bad choice or getting it wrong. That isn't the case in a wicked learning environment. In a kind one, we've got a close match between information and in how we apply it. In a wicked learning environment, we've got mismatches and feedback is missing, it's poor, that sort of thing. So we want to go ahead and avoid harsh consequences. The consequence of getting it wrong in a wicked learning environment can be fatal. In a kind one, it isn't. So we've got to somehow figure out a way to avoid that feedback, harsh feedback. We all get better by getting feedback. Again, the auto parts salesperson, I might be annoyed at her for giving me the wrong thing and my having to go to town, but it's not, it's not harsh consequence at all. In a wicked learning environment, it is harsh. Debriefing is a way that we can get the feedback without the consequence. We talked earlier about there are empathy gaps. The problem with empathy gaps is that we often tend to keep on making the same mistake because we can't see how things are going to play out in a different emotional state. And debriefing helps us avoid that empathy gap. Did we find what we anticipated? Were our decisions made? How can we improve them? What was the weather doing? What was the avalanche danger doing? And we have prompts in our AIARE field book to help us compare. We've got the forecast. What did we see? Just because we didn't see it doesn't mean that it wasn't there. We were in the wrong place, the wrong aspect, wrong elevation, that sort of thing. So what we see is more important than what we didn't see. Now, is the danger increasing or decreasing? What's the weather trend? Now, what were the strengths, shortcomings of today's plan? Were we most exposed to risk? We all want to think we're good, but were we just lucky? So what are we going to do different? Depending where you are, we'll often submit observations to the local forecast center. The forecasters can't go everywhere every time. So we need to be able to submit observations to a wider audience than just ourselves. We can learn from mistakes that other people make. And we can go back and we can read accident reports. These are compiled by Colorado Avalanche Information Center. When we read an accident report, we want to be careful about what we'll call our own blind spot bias, where we're thinking, God, those people were idiots. What were they doing? I would never make that mistake. We want to go ahead and be honest here. And if we're honest, we might often say, yeah, I probably could have made that mistake. So we can learn from other people's mistakes without the harsh feedback that they got. Before we ski a slope, maybe we can think about what an accident report might look like. If it goes good, everything's great. If it doesn't, would our decisions stand up to scrutiny? Again, what would the accident report say about what we did? So we're doing, again, a pre-mortem here. So these are all ways of just avoiding that harsh feedback. We don't want that harsh feedback, do we? We just don't. This is a quote from Will Durant. Him and his wife, Ariel Durant, wrote a history of the world, massive, many volumes. Education is a progressive discovery of our own ignorance. So every time, as I said, you go out in the mountains, you should be able to go ahead and learn something. Keep your eyes, ears open, keep expanding your knowledge. And as we looked at, a lot of the time in the Sierra Nevada, the conditions are in our favor. We can go out and we can have a good experience with low risk. There are times when we don't want to go out there, and our education is discovering when those times are. Here are a few things that you can do: homework or further reading. This is the book I mentioned, that has a lot of good information. It's a thick book on how our brain works and how we can work with our human I'm losing it here, frailties and faults. This one here talks about why we underprepare. We always tend to have optimism and look on the bright side of things, and that gets in the way of us making good decisions. I mentioned that this book goes along with the Evaluator one. With this, I think there's a lot of books out there. This is the most modern and I think the most current good book available. No, it's this little one here. It's available from Canada. It goes along with their Avalanche Skills Training Program, AST. And I think this is probably one of the best books out there. I've got some more here. You find the book that works for you, the things that clicks with your brain. It might not be what I say. It might not be what this one writes about. It might be another one. This is a good book. It's fairly extensive. Bruce Tremper is a long-time educator, an Avalanche professional, and it's a good book. This one here, Avalanche Handbook, gets much more into the science side of things. And we use this as a textbook on later courses. If you are a science person and you want to delve deeper into snow science, this is the one to get. There might be a 4th edition now. 2 little books. There are newer versions of these. These are older books, and they look at the same thing in different ways. Jill Fredstone and Doug Fessler from Canada. Ed LaChapelle is one of the great grandfathers of American avalanche research. Jill Fredstone also wrote this book, which is a good not scientific, but personal account of being an avalanche forecaster and researcher in Alaska. She was down on the panhandle there. I'll put these in an email out to you. This is a route finding exercise from New Zealand. You click at the bottom and go ahead and trace the track to the top, and you get a thumbs up, thumbs down type thing. That's good. I think this link is still valid. I haven't tested it this year. This one here is a good one for human factors. This came out in Powder magazine, I think. So well worth looking for if you're interested in that side of things. This one here, just put in New York Times, test your problem solving. And it's a 1 minute, 30-second less test, just to emphasize the biases that we have in our brain. This one here, Tunnel Creek, was an accident in Washington. You might have heard of this one. This is another extensive review of it. It collects a lot of data, and it was primarily human factors that led to this. They were all expert skiers. This one here is a Canadian one. You will find some of that in this book here. And this is another good, well done case study. And again, we can learn from the case studies to avoid that hard slap. YouTube, just put in a dozen more terms and you'll get this. We've used this a number of times on courses. There's a lot of avalanche videos that have been made recently, and some of them have the thumping music soundtrack, the cutesy little things in them and so on. This one is well done. It's older now, but it does show the harsh consequence of getting things wrong. The people involved in this, one guy was doing a PhD in snow science. They still got things wrong. So the basic things that we've talked about today and we'll talk about in the field are the things that keep you safe in the backcountry. More knowledge does not make you safe if you ignore the basics. And as I said, this fellow with a PhD made a basic mistake that we've talked about today, and that they push the terrain up steeper into steeper terrain in order to get a dozen more turns. So if you watch this one, have a box of tissues along with it. So these are all things that will help us again, not to, I don't want to scare people at all, but I want us to be able to make good decisions and again, be honest when you watch things and read reviews. Could I make the same mistakes? It's to avoid the hard slaps and get the feedback we need that is lacking in what we do. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for your attendance. I think we're pretty well done here. Good job sticking it out. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the field. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.